Welcome to UWS Weekly, a show that is dedicated to covering United Women's Soccer, a national pro-am league with your host, Jonathan Ward. Each and every week, we will highlight players, supporters, and staff of the clubs we all pride ourselves to support in North America. The UWS is a league that is committed to advancing women's soccer. Good evening, soccer fans, and welcome to UWS Weekly, a show dedicated to covering all things UWS and UWS2. My name is Jonathan, and I'm your host of UWS Weekly. And tonight, I'm lucky to be joined by the managing director of the Connecticut Fusion, JP Dellacamera, and defender, Kylie McIntosh. JP and Kylie, thank you so much for taking the time this evening to join me. And before we get started, I have a simple question that I'd like you guys to answer, which is simply an introduction of yourself, how you got involved in soccer, and your roles in the club or community.
Kylie, ladies first, so you go.
Okay, so my name is Kylie McIntosh. I grew up in Cheshire, Connecticut. I've been playing soccer for just about as long as I can remember. When you have a big sister, you do whatever your big sister does, and she played soccer, so I went ahead and played soccer too. I fell in love with the sport, and I've been playing it since I was 3 years old. I'm glad to still be involved in it now, a little bit later on in my years, but I love being part of my community and being able to help out and teach the youth what I've learned and the knowledge that I've learned, and I found that I learned a lot more from the kids than I think they probably learned from us. So I couldn't be happier that soccer is still in my life.
Jonathan, I grew up in Waltham, Massachusetts, and knew when I was in high school that I wanted to either be a sports announcer or a disc jockey. And when I weighed both of those things and the length of career, I thought, nobody wants to hear an old disc jockey, but a sports guy, a sportscaster can go on forever. So my initial dream growing up in Boston was I was a big Bruins fan, NHL fan, wanted to be an NHL announcer, spent years in the minor leagues trying to improve my craft, get better and better, and get an NHL job. And that didn't happen for me. So I switched to indoor soccer, and some of my best memories are from indoor soccer. And in those days, there was no MLS. So some of the best soccer players that we brought over into this country were playing indoors. From there, I got some good breaks along the way, did some outdoor soccer, fell in love more with the outdoor game. And 15 World Cups later, it's nothing that I would trade in. I mean, I love doing this. And, each World Cup for me has been like just something extra and more of a blessing to realize how lucky I am to be doing this for so long.
Nice. Well, let's get into talking a little bit about the club. And JP, what is the overall vision of the club along with its mission?
I think the vision and the mission is similar. I think when we started this, we wanted to have some place for girls, women, ladies to play. Something, I know it's an amateur league, but to try to do it as professionally as we could, to have nice looking uniforms, to be able to travel to our games by bus, to our on-field presentation, to our coaching staff. We wanted something good, a good experience for our players. Truth be told, we're all competitors, Kylie especially. You want to win, right? So our goal, even though we were an expansion team and our vision was, yes, we wanted to make the playoffs. Yes, we wanted to win every game. Yes, we wanted to be national champions. And if we didn't get all of those, that doesn't mean that we were not a success. We made the playoffs in each of 2 years, got knocked out in the playoffs by a very good Lancaster team twice. But I think we've done well for being only a couple of years old.
I can see it on Kylie's face that's a tough one. That Inferno idea, right? So the club was founded in 2018 as part of FSAFC. What was the conversation behind starting it? Obviously, JP, you gave us some insight, but there was the Boston Breakers at one time. They folded in 2018. But what was the conversation behind wanting to get the club besides bringing more soccer to the community after the loss of the Breakers?
Well, long story, much shorter. Shep Messing, who is also a managing director, former New York Cosmos, great goalkeeper. He and I have been best friends for a long time. We were broadcasting together in New York Red Bulls days, Shep and I, and even indoor soccer games with him. So I would say maybe 5 years ago, we discussed running our own team. And we thought, well, who's going to hire two broadcasters to run a team, right? We didn't have any experience doing that. So we thought, what's the next best thing? Maybe we'll start our own thing. And neither one of us wanted to invest in it. I think you have to have a different kind of mindset if you want to be a big investor in sports. So we were looking for something that we thought, we could manage on our own. So I knew about UWS. I had met Joe Ferrara before. I had seen the Mutiny play in other leagues. I knew Joe was a commissioner. So I engaged in conversation with Joe, and Joe was extremely helpful in convincing me and Shep that this was the right league to go to. We didn't talk to any other leagues. Once I had made the connection with Joe, this is where we wanted to go. Then we thought, where we're going to play. So FSA, under the DiTomaso family, they've been a great facility for years now. Several fields. I think it's 11. Kylie probably knows this better than me, but so many fields, indoors, outdoors. Great club. So that was the place we wanted to train and play. And our first meeting with them was just to maybe rent the facility. Maybe 2 or 3 meetings later, they approached us with a better idea. We thought they were going to run the business side of it, and Shep and I would run the soccer side of it. So it ended up being a good marriage for both. I think a win-win. They know what they're doing on their side. And, I'd like to think that Shep and I know what we're doing on our side.
Well, that's good. That's good. So Kylie, you've been part of the club since 2018. What keeps you motivated for 2021, especially after this layoff that we've had?
So I absolutely love our coach, Tom. He's excellent, but I also love the girls. And being on the coaching side of the sport now, it's very different. I see a different side of things. So to see like my teammates developing and putting that effort in to get better. And I know they're usually going on to their college seasons, and I'm past that, but it's really nice to be a part of something bigger than myself. And I was excited for this season. I'm getting to the point where I'm on the brink of, do I just retire? Do I call it quits?
No.
But with 2020 not happening, it just makes me that much more hungry for 2021. And like, I have to go out with a bang if I'm going to go out. So I'm excited to come back. And it's about the team and that atmosphere you get being on a team.
Jonathan, the chemistry on our team for 2 years, I thought was excellent. And the best reward that I got, I remember when we lost the game in Lancaster. I had just come back from Russia and the World Cup, and it was like the very next day they were going to take a bus trip to Lancaster. And I said to my wife, I'd really like to go. And she said, you should go, even though I was just back. I was not even home for 24 hours. And I thought, I have to go there. And so we went, lost the game. And I remember, players' disappointment and all that. And I remember thanking them, for their effort. And 3 or 4 of them thanked me. And that was like the reward, I never thought about it that way, but they appreciated, what we had done for them. I mean, Shep and I didn't want to do it. We're not making money on this. We had no intention of making money on this. We thought we'd lose money on this. And we're not looking for thanks, but it was so nice to know that what we were doing was the right thing and it was appreciated. And I was so proud of them for what they did for the 2 years that they did it, because these are players that don't get paid. They're training 3 nights a week. Players like Kylie have jobs. Some of them have part-time jobs. Some of them were taking summer courses. So it's a commitment that they gave us, and we thank them for that.
Nice. So Kylie, you kind of got a little bit of a hibernation, that itch, right? To play a little bit longer, maybe dust the boots off for an extra year or 2, probably, right?
Yeah. So I play as often as I can, honestly. I play a lot of indoor, but it's just not the same as being outside and that competitive. There's something about, for me, the national anthem, just standing out there, like hands behind my back, just honoring our nation, but getting ready to play in front of people and play with my teammates. And I mean, that feeling really can't be beat by anything.
Yeah, for me, it was always the smell of grass in the morning, that dew smell, right? You wake up like, oh yeah, it's time to go. So JP, you've been involved in soccer since the 80s with the MISL. We talked a little bit about Tattoo and Preki being a part of that league. How has your past work in the sport helped you in the role as the managing director of the CT Fusion?
I think one of the things that I do well is study. I prepare, and as part of my preparation, I always talk to coaches, I talk to players, I talk to referees. I learned more about refereeing from talking to referees in the major indoor soccer league than I did at any other time. You know, like from saying to one official, like, why did you make that call? You know, you were 40 yards away. Why didn't this guy make the call? He was closer. And that's when they told me about angles. You know, he said the guy farthest away may see it better than the guy that's 2 feet away because of the angles. So I think I learned more about players, coaches, referees from having conversations with them. And more specifically to what I do with the Fusion as a managing director, I think from doing all these women's national team games, and I was involved with the other women's pro leagues before. So you learn about players and what makes a good player, the chemistry that's involved, you know, how versatile they are. So I've always had fun with like imagining what would I do if I ran this team or that team? You know, what kind of players would I like? So I think the way I prepare for it, the way I study for my games has helped me in preparing for building a roster.
Nice. Kylie, you were a part of the inaugural team back in 2018 that reached the conference finals and the playoffs in 2019. What can you potentially attribute the early success to as a member of that team?
I think that the core group of girls that we had were really strong and really dedicated. And I know most of the core group were girls who were working full-time jobs already. And I think for other players to see some of their dedication to practice and that we were there every day, we were ready to go. We were there early, our boots were on, and we were already getting set up. I think that everyone just bought in. Everyone wanted to work hard. And I have to give a lot of credit to the coach, and he set us up for success. But I just think it's the buy-in, and there's no drama. There's no nothing. Everyone wants to get better. Everyone wants to win. And I think that our ability to mesh really well has helped us succeed.
So JP and Kylie, you guys have been in the league for a short time now, 2 years, with this year being kind of a year to get better. Who have you formed the best rivalry with?
Ooh, I'll let Kylie answer that. I would just say this: we're too young, you know, to really have a great rivalry, I would say. But our games to the Mutiny have always been good. You know, when you only play somebody twice in a year, you know, it's hard to have a rivalry after like a couple of years. But I would say that, you know, New England and Worcester are our two geographic rivals, you know, at this moment. But our games with New England they could go either way. And I know even though we lost in the playoffs to Lancaster twice, I think that's a good rivalry. But Kylie could explain better as a player.
So my initial thought is New England Mutiny. A handful of us actually played for them, including myself. So I did play for them for a while, and I loved it there, but it's far. It's a little bit of a drive for us to commute. So this team in Connecticut just made a lot more sense for a lot of us to do and to be able to commit to, especially with full-time jobs. But a lot of us know each other, and a lot of the UConn girls or the Central girls play for them. So a lot of people know each other, and the soccer world, as you know, is pretty small. So I think that's definitely our biggest rivalry, if you will, even though we're so close. But Lancaster, of course, is someone that we want to beat all the time. And we've had success against them. It just wasn't in the playoffs, but twice. I would say, yeah. I wasn't there for the second one, but I take credit for missing it. I take credit for missing it. Yeah. So, but definitely New England Mutiny first, and then Lancaster second.
Okay. Fair enough. So this year has been difficult for all organizations throughout sport. What have you both taken away from this experience, both positive and perhaps negative, as a player and a managing director?
the negative is easier to talk about because so much of it was negative, right? I feel so bad for our players because, first of all, they lost their Fusion season. That's number one. And regardless of family issues, I'm not sure how many of our players had families that maybe had COVID. That I'm not aware of. But just for our girls not to have a Fusion season was bad enough. Then to lose their college season, have some uncertainty about a spring season, and also lose their college experience. I know a lot of our girls that are going to be freshmen this year were learning online. So they even lose that year of being a college student. So that's all negative, right? That's totally negative. That's why it's easier to talk about that, I guess, because there was more of it. But on a positive side, I think what we've learned to do is with everything else in life, what we're doing here tonight with this call, right? I didn't even know what Zoom was a year ago. And now I'm like a quasi Zoom expert because I've done so many of these things in the course of a year, right? So we've learned how to communicate better, I think. We've learned how to do things differently. At this time last year, I was scouting college games and talking to coaches. And now there's no college games for me to watch, very few even on television. So I haven't had that. Haven't had face-to-face conversations with coaches or with players, actually. So this is the first time I'm seeing Kylie, and it's on a Zoom call. But I've emailed all of our players, to see who's interested in coming back next year. I've tried to keep in touch to say, like last year when we didn't know what was happening. I mean, literally, we were changing on the fly. Was there going to be a full season? Was there going to be a shortened season? Was there going to be a tournament? Everything changed. We ended up playing like one friendly against Worcester in the summer, and that was it. So I think that I've learned that even though I can't go to college games and scout, I can certainly talk to all of the college coaches, and I've either done that by phone, text, or email, or one, two, or three, or all three of those. So I've stayed in touch, and now, will we be able to have tryouts like we would like to have tryouts? Who's to say? So my thought is we might sign more players than we normally would at this time, because I want to make sure we have a roster that's ready to go if we have to pull this all together in a short period of time. So I think those are the things that we've learned. The only positive thing is I think we've learned to adapt. We've had to, and we've done that.
Kylie?
So I have a little bit of a different take, and I think it comes a little bit from my education background, but there's so much negative that's gone on during this, and I think that we can't dwell on it. It's not going to make anything better, and we kind of need to look at the positive things that are going on and make sure that we're there for each other. For me and myself as a player, as a person, as an educator, as a coach, a couple things I can really take away from this is resiliency. I mean, kids are resilient. We are resilient in our ability to adapt, or just our adaptability, and be able to learn new things and new technology and just go on about our day and still be successful in what we're doing. And even though it's not the same, we are still getting the same outcome and just a different means. And I think just to focus on that, and my soccer team, my high school team, we focus a lot on grit and the ability to just keep going no matter what anyone throws at you. And I think that people are mentally tougher through this. They've learned so much, they've gained so much, and they've learned a lot about themselves, as have I, and that we can do this as a community, as a soccer community. It stinks, but we can keep going. And something that I think needs to be noted, it's incredible, and soccer community is resilient.
So JP and Kylie, talking about that ability to adapt, the club is adapted to how is the club adapting right now to make sure they're still competitive and continue to be successful in the UWS during this time?
For me, Jonathan, it's all about dialogue with coaches all the time, whether it's email, like I said, or phone calls. Same with players. I have a pretty good sense right now of how many players are coming back. The unfortunate thing with COVID, and this is a way we're adapting too, is that I've got some players that are saying yes 100%. I have others that are saying yes 95%, but I'm waiting on this grad course I'm thinking about taking, or I'm waiting on an internship, or my work schedule. So, and I don't want to put any more pressure on these players, whether it's college kids or like in Kylie's case, working. So, we'll wait for them. They'll still have a place on our team. Nobody's losing their place because they can't commit to me today. If they tell me in January, great. If they tell me in February, great. And if they tell me in March, there's still going to be a place for them. So I think that's the way we adapt. They've had enough pressure. Like Kylie has said, we're all a soccer community. We're all trying to do the right thing and the best thing for our players, for our girls, for our ladies, for our women, and make the best out of what has been a bad situation, and just try to do the best that we can.
I agree, and I'll just build off that. I think communication is key. That's the thing that needs to happen the most. And I know for me personally, I have reached out to some of my teammates and got their opinions on if they're going to play or not, and what they're doing right now and how they're working out and things of that nature. So even though we really can't be together, I think that communication piece, and one of my very close friends and teammates, Steph Santos, I talk to her quite often. And what are you doing for a workout today? What are you doing? Have you been on the ball lately? And it's just little things like that just keep us motivated and competitive during this time.
So those old training logs that you used to have from college, those are coming in handy, huh?
Yeah, I'd have to dig those up. They're in the archives.
Definitely in the archives. So a question about the community. What are some of the ways the club impacts the community through its efforts and outreach? What is the club doing?
I think, go ahead, Kylie. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment on the fact that there's a lot of camps and clinics. I know right now that's a hard part, but I know that FSA has been working with small groups of kids to the best of their ability right now to make sure that we're still reaching out to the community.
Yeah, because FSA has been closed, right, because of the governor of Connecticut and various lockdowns that they've had to have. So it's been tough with FSA because, one day the rules are this, and then the next day, they're changed, right? But I think because we're only 2 years into this, Jonathan, there's a lot of things that we can do. What I envision, they announced this today, that we're going to be part of UWS 2. So now we've got a first team. We'll have a second team, and the goal of all of this all along has really been a pyramid, right? What is a kid and it's not just FSA kids, we get kids from everywhere, but for somebody that's in FSA, that's 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, what we want them to do is look up to our players and think, hey, one day I can play for the Connecticut Fusion. I can play for, the second team, then the first team maybe, and then maybe professionally if that's what they want to do. And I think part of what we'll try to do in the next couple of years is get our players out to do more clinics, with these players, more fusion clinics, not FSA clinics per se, but fusion clinics at FSA, where it's our players wearing the uniform, and these young kids look up to them, and hopefully they're our future players. So we've got a great pipeline, and that's what we want to use there.
Nice. So Kylie, last year you returned to be the coach of your high school that you attended in Cheshire. What made you return to the place that it all began?
So I have to give a lot of credit to James Luis. He was one of my coaches growing up. He coached at the high school, and he coached at my club as well. And when I got back from Marist, I went to grad school at UConn, but I was living in Cheshire. So I started helping him coach. So I was an assistant at Cheshire High School, and he told me that he was going to retire and asked if I was the one who wanted to take it because he would put in a good word for me. And I said, of course. And I have to say, there's nothing cooler than going back and to coach at your alma mater, being on not the same field, it's a turf field now, but just to give back to the community that made me who I was, the high school team that made me who I was. I actually coach against my old high school coach, so that's pretty cool too. But I love it. I love Cheshire. I love the community, my players, the girls, the parents, everyone is great, and it was probably one of the best things I could have done.
So for the two of you, how does soccer in New England differ from other parts of the country?
Wow, I think the only way it differs, to be honest, is the weather. Nobody's training outdoors today. Where Kylie is and where I am, I think she had 10 inches of snow maybe, or was that what it was, Kylie? 10?
Just about 15.
Oh, sorry, 15.
Oh.
I had 10. Yeah. And we probably live a half hour away from each other, and that's the difference. So nobody's training, outdoors today. I think that soccer is played all around, this country, all around the world. It's very similar in so many ways. I think the biggest difference to me is that, year round you can play in California, year round you can play in Arizona, year round you can play in Florida, and maybe some other places. Connecticut year round, New England year round, no can do. So I think that's the biggest difference. But I think in our area in particular, and Kylie can attest to this, like she was saying before, when the Mutiny were around, they would get a lot of the Connecticut kids to play because there was no team in Connecticut. We could have a few teams in Connecticut with the amount of talent that we have here. There's nothing at the other end of the state. We don't have a UWS team in maybe, say, Bridgeport or Stamford or Danbury or somewhere down there. As far away at the other end as Norwich. So there's a lot of talent in the New England area in general. And I think we see that when we look at rosters, not just our roster or even New England's roster, but when we look at these collegiate rosters, our college kids are playing everywhere.
Kylie, anything to add to that, or is that pretty spot on?
Yeah, I think soccer is a pretty universal language, and I think in Connecticut, soccer has grown exponentially. I think it is the sport for girls in Connecticut, and we have a lot of talent. Just playing with some of these girls from Fusion, and then knowing some other ones and training some of them. I am lucky enough to have at least 4 of my players go off to play in college. That there's talent here. And yes, we can't train in the winter outside, but we make it work. So like I said, we just adapt and we figure it out and we compete.
JP, you've witnessed firsthand the growth of soccer, not just in the US, but around the world, having covered World Cups. How do you think the league contributes to the advancement of the women's game?
Well, I think UWS is a necessary league, right? Because if you want to play professionally, there's only so many teams in the NWSL, or you could go overseas and try to play in Europe or South America or somewhere else. So I think that UWS is that bridge. It helps players go to the next level. So the way I look at our team and let's say our roster is, if you're playing on the Connecticut Fusion and you're a college kid, we think we will make you better for your next season in college, right? If you're done with college and you're playing with us, we think we're going to make you better for the next level, which is professional. And we've had a couple of our players, and I know the league has numbers on this. It's dozens of players that have played professionally, either in this country or in other countries. And just 2 of our players, Vivian Beal, who played at the University of Connecticut, is playing for Napoli. Now they're in Serie A. Last year they were in Serie B. And Haley Nolan is playing in the 2nd division of England. And we have other players that I think can also do that if they want to. And if they do want to, we'll try to help them. We tried to get a couple of our players tryouts last year, and we were successful with NWSL clubs. And I think the more players that we can develop, the more people see that we can be a gateway to the NWSL or other leagues, the better we'll be. But if not, I still think, we're a great experience, right? So Kylie's a teacher now. She doesn't have aspirations. I hope I'm not speaking, out of turn here, Kylie, but, Kylie doesn't have aspirations she's never asked me about getting her a tryout with an NWSL team or anything else. So this is something that she wants to do, though. She wants to play at a high level. So we're able to provide that for her. So it's not one size fits all with our players, but hopefully we are a good experience and a good vehicle for anyone who wants to play at a very high competitive level.
Kylie, I have to ask you, as a player, as a coach, as a teacher, as somebody who's on the pitch during game days, how important are supporters to the club and the community?
I think they're everything. I mean, I have a lot of teams and I've coached a lot of teams. So a lot of my players come, and there's nothing better than when they announce your name and you step forward and wave to the crowd that your players go wild. It only feeds my desire to play well and to do better, and show them that your coach is telling you things that she does on the pitch. Like I know what I'm talking about because I live it. And I think that helps me be a better coach and helps them understand that what I'm trying to do is in their best interest, because I'm doing it too. So whatever I'm telling them, I'm also instilling in my own game. But there's nothing better than hearing the cheers from the crowd. I've had students come to watch me play and players, and it means the world to have supporters there and people who back us no matter what.
JP, how does the game day atmosphere from being behind the mic to being on the pitch, how is that different for you?
It's totally different. I'm never nervous, doing a game. I mean, that's what I do. But I would say I'm anxious if I'm on the bench. Our coach has allowed me, that benefit. If I want to go in and listen to the team talk, I can. He'll ask me to, sit on the bench. That's fine. But I feel more anxious because there I'm really a fan, and I'm rooting for my team to win. And it's hard, I mean, you can see how competitive these players are. And, some nights they win and they look great. And other nights, it's a disappointing loss and you're looking at sad faces, and, what do you say to them? Like, I don't want to say to Kylie, hey, tough one. She knows it was tough. She doesn't want to hear me say that. So I think I'm more comfortable when I'm working a game, when I'm in the booth, when I'm announcing a game, than I am on the sideline, because there I'm a passionate fan, but I'm trying not to do too much. I'm trying to be on the sideline because I'm not a coach. That's not what I do. I would have no clue on how to do that, but I try to sit calmly. If they score, I try not to over celebrate because I don't want the other bench to, see me doing that and we're rubbing it in, because that's not, but you're happy, you're excited. I'm excited for them. I'm not excited for me. I didn't score the goal. I didn't make the save. I'm excited for them. So it's a totally different feeling from me being in a booth and working to me being on the sideline and trying to watch our team play.
Kylie, true or false? JP's almost been kicked out of a game.
No.
False.
No.
False.
That would never happen. Never.
I can see you getting really excited on the pitch and having fun with it. So thank you guys for answering those questions. We're going to get into, it's called rapid fire. Rapid fire. I'm going to ask you some questions. You can pass on one, but you only can pass on one and you won't know the next question until you answer. So,
okay. Who goes first? Kylie goes first.
So there's a couple questions here. The first question is for both of you, and then we'll go Kylie, JP, and a question for both of you. Kylie, JP, and a question for both of you. The first question is, favorite pro team?
Tottenham.
I'm going to say Philadelphia Union because that's who I work for. So sorry, but that's it. My favorite team, but other than the Philadelphia Union, is Juventus.
Okay. Kylie, what team in college did you get pumped up most for?
Fairfield.
JP, favorite soccer memory or call?
1999 Women's Cup final, Brandy Chastain's game-winning penalty kick, I would say.
Question for both of you. The one person who got you into the sport?
My sister.
Ooh. I'm going to pass. That was so long ago. I actually don't remember. I think it was me. I just saw it, watched it, loved it.
Okay. Kylie, if you could have one player as a teammate, past or present, who's your teammate?
Be careful, Kylie. Teammates are watching. Be careful.
One teammate, past or present.
Not. It could be any player. It doesn't have to be somebody you've played with in the past, but somebody that you've looked up to or somebody that you've played with. One player.
Or you could pass on it, Kylie.
I'm gonna pass.
All right, fair enough. See.
JP, best soccer venue you've experienced a match?
Anywhere you mean, or just US?
Anywhere.
Anywhere. Oh my gosh.
You already passed once, so you can't pass on this one.
Yeah. Phrase that again for me. Best soccer
venue you've experienced.
Oh my gosh. Way too many. So I'd really have to I'd really have to go back and think about it. You know, there are stadiums in Italy, England, France. You know, I'm just going to say, because I could do this for another 20 minutes. I'd say Wembley, just being part of being in the old Wembley, and then the new Wembley is something that I'm remembering. But I've been in so many of the great stadiums around the world for so many great World Cup memories that I'll think of one later that I'll say I should have said that one. But let's go with Wembley, both Wembleys.
Fair enough. Biggest kryptonite snack, that one snack that you can't just stay away from.
I love Pringles.
JP?
It's not a snack, but I would say cheesecake.
All right. That's
haven't done that in a while, but cheesecake would have been the killer for me.
All right. So now only in New England questions. So only New Englanders will figure this out, or you guys can help them. So quick answer, chowder or lobster roll?
Neither. I don't like seafood.
I love seafood, but I'm going with neither as well. I used to like clam chowder, but your taste buds change over the years, and now I would say neither. Sorry,
pizza pie.
Jonathan.
That's okay. It's okay. Best pizza pie that you guys can find out that way.
Cheese pizza from Pepe's in New Haven, the New Haven one.
Margarita's Pizza from George's, 5 minutes from my house.
Who has a better legacy in New England? Larry Bird, Big Papi, Tom Brady, or Lily?
I'm going to go Big Papi. I just grew up with him, knowing him and whatnot.
Those are four great ones, by the way. Yeah. You couldn't have made it any more difficult. With all due respect to all of them, to me, the GOAT is Tom Brady. Was and will always be. So I'm a Brady guy.
And then my last question for only in New England, Bean Cups or Stanley Cups? Which one has more weight?
Stanley Cups.
Easy for me. Growing up wanting to be an NHL announcer and then getting my dream with the Atlanta Thrashers. So watch the Bruins win some Stanley Cups without a doubt.
And then my last question for the two of you this evening, before we part, I have one question. What does community mean to you?
So for me, community means everything. I wouldn't be who I am without the community I grew up in and the people who helped me become who I am, whether it was pushing me in a positive way or a negative way, or learning from them or helping me up when I was down. And I think the best thing that I can do as a person is give that back moving forward, whether it's my community here in Cheshire, whether it's my Fusion community, the soccer community, my school's community. But I think just always giving back to your community, putting your best foot forward. I want people in my community to be like, yeah, she does everything she can for us. So for me, community is absolutely everything.
Yeah. Community for me, Jonathan, is like two words: caring and sharing. And I think that, with COVID and so many people losing jobs, I know I've become much more aware of those in need, and you try to do even more than you even before. So for me, something like our local food pantry will donate a lot to. Food Share, the same thing, because I can't imagine what it must be like for people to be hungry. I think that when you see the way they have gathered some of these places, we've used Rentschler Field, which is a 5,000 or so seat stadium, where they've used the parking lot to distribute food to those who are having tough times, that they've lost their jobs. I think when you see that all the time on the news, you become so much more aware of it. The problem was there before, but I think it's highlighted much more by all those who are not working. So I think caring and sharing, if we could all do even 5% more of what we all do, that would go a long way.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you two taking the time to join me this evening. I know there's other things to do. You guys probably have to start getting ready, get those shovels ready, as that storm is still battering you guys up there. But I really appreciate the time that you've given me and the viewers this evening. So thank you very much for doing that. JP, thank you. Kylie, we'll have you back on here in a second.
Yeah.
To the two of you, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Jonathan.
So this segment is Beyond the Pitch. This segment is dedicated to highlighting individuals in our UWS communities doing awesome things away from the field. This person could be a supporter, club staff, or a player who is doing awesome things to support their club and or their community. This week, we actually want to acknowledge our guest, Kylie McIntosh, for her work, not only as a coach, but also an educator. She is an intervention teacher, helping out her community along the way with Waterton Public Schools. So much so that she was recently recognized as a finalist for Teacher of the Year. She has been quoted as saying, "I love teaching and I love being with the kids every day in the classroom and on the field." Kylie, if we can get you back on stage here. First off, thank you for everything you do. I am touched by the fact that you're able to do so much and be a part of your community. But I did want to take an opportunity to read something coming from JP, the GM of the CT Fusion. So he said this about you. He said, "Kylie is an exceptional role model, both on and off the pitch. She demonstrates leadership qualities that her teammates respond to positively and paves the way for younger players. She helps build an environment that is both competitive and rewarding, creating an atmosphere that embodies what the CT Fusion is all about. Off the field, it is no surprise that Kylie's role as an educator carries her into her career path. Kylie is compassionate and caring for her students, as well as teammates alike, and they are lucky to work with her." So first off, Kylie, thank you so much for giving back to your community as more than just a coach, but an educator and a mentor to those kids in your community. Like many teachers, such as myself and Joe, at times it may seem like a thankless job and difficult, but know that you're making a difference in each and every one of your students that you interact with.
Thank you.
So I have some questions for you that I actually want to ask. Kylie, what made you want to get into education?
So that's an easy thing. My mother's an educator, so it was a really easy decision to want to become a teacher. Just watching her back in the day, we would have days off of work, my sister and I say we, and she wouldn't. And so she'd take us to class with her. And she's a special education teacher and she works with the medically fragile. So just being in that situation, it just really helped me grow as a person and understand different people learn in different ways. And ever since then, I knew that's what I wanted to be.
How have you found time to juggle teaching, coaching, and playing at such a high level?
I like to be busy. I like to always be going. So for me, it's no big deal. And things that I'm really passionate about, it's not like it's a burden to me. I want to go do those things. And for us, luckily, the high school season's in the fall and the UWS season's in the spring. So they don't cross paths, which is nice. So I can still do both and manage my time. But it's not ever really crossed my mind that it's been hard to do.
So for people who aren't in education, who don't know the 3-tier model, what is the SRBI program and how is it different from general ed courses?
So SRBI, or as it's known in a lot of the country as RTI, scientifically research-based instruction or response to intervention. There's 3 tiers. Usually tier 1 is what all students receive. It's just the common core instruction with strategies needed to be successful. Tier 2 is for those students who might need a little bit more support. They might be struggling in tier 1, and that would require maybe some small group work with the teacher, and that could be within the classroom, or it could be out of the classroom with an interventionist. And then tier 3 is usually more individualized, and you're working on specific programs to help students reach their goals, none of which is considered special education. Before I took this job, I was a special education teacher for 5 years. And I just recently, this past year, had switched over. And there are a lot of similarities in the fact that I'm helping students who might have some learning gaps in places, but it's more based on the kids in general education that I'm focusing on. So it's just about getting them the help that they need. And when I was at UConn, it's something that was heavily put into us, that RTI was so important, or SRBI was so important, and it just became something I was really passionate about.
So during the year, students are always in need, especially at this time of the year, right? Season's changing, it's colder. What can people do to help support students and families in your school's community?
So in our town, Watertown, we actually do a lot of food drives just to help during this time. We do one right before Thanksgiving, as well as right before Christmas time as well. We also, as a school, and I know this is a different school than I was at last year, but we all have a giving tree. And so we focus on specific families and needs, and we help to give back. But in our town, food pantry would be huge to help out, to donate to that. Coat drives, I know, is a big thing. So really just any little thing that you can do to help out. And even if it's grocery store where they have that bin of canned goods and you add something to it from what you bought. But it's so important to help your community and make sure that the kids are getting what they need in our community.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way in any community. So check it out. If there's anything you can do, check with your local resources, your schools. They might be doing coat drives and stuff. So please, throughout the country, anybody, if you have an opportunity to give back, do so, please. So my last question for you, Kylie, what keeps you coming back year after year to education?
The kids. I mean, that seems like the simple answer, but I truly love what I do. And I think some people think that we don't necessarily get the appreciation that we deserve. But I don't necessarily think that's true. I think within society, teaching can be frowned upon to some degree, but you get a lot of appreciation from your students. You build relationships with these kids, and it's like they're part of your family. And I have a kid who last year would come in and hug me every day and say good morning as if I was the highlight of his morning every single morning. And it's just those little things that really keep you going, or an aha moment, as a lot of teachers know. When a kid finally gets it, it finally clicks, and you guys have been working on something, just to see their success. So I really think the profession's extremely rewarding from the students. You get to watch them grow and blossom. And what more could you want as a teacher?
That's right. Well, Kylie, thank you so much for your time this evening, taking the time to be interviewed. And then also thank you for all you do in your community. We hope to talk to you soon and actually in person. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Enjoy it. So that brings us to league news. A lot of news coming out the last 2 days regarding expansion amidst the continuing stress of COVID-19 on the sports industry. The UWS is still positioning itself for a full 2021 schedule while also continuing to expand its national footprint. We are creating a new Southeast Conference that will be formed for the 2021 season. And the first organization to be a part of that is the Atlanta Panthers Soccer Club, the league's first team to ever come out of the state of Georgia. The Atlanta Panthers is independently operated and owned. Their primary objective is to provide an opportunity for females to grow, develop, and cultivate into talented, excellent soccer players and athletes. Additional teams in the Southeast Conference will be announced in the coming weeks. Applications are still being accepted and reviewed for the upcoming 2021 campaign. Also, a new organization has been added to the 2021 Southwest Conference lineup. Side FC 92, the top level of the West Side Alliance Soccer Club based in Tulsa, Oklahoma, will take on the likes of Batco FC, FC Austin Elite, Dallas International FC, and the San Antonio Athenians for this upcoming season. The side FC 92 will field 2 women's teams in the UWS, a first team and a reserve team in League 2. Side FC 92 is the first ever Oklahoma-based team in the UWS. Founded in 1992, West Side Alliance SC is a leading competitive soccer club in Oklahoma and in the region. The team is headquartered out of Tulsa, with community club programs in the greater Tulsa metro area and Oklahoma City. Additional teams in the Southwest Conference will be announced in the coming weeks, so please be paying attention to UWS Online. UWS League 2 is proud to announce the establishment of the New England Conference for the inaugural 2021 season. UWS reserve teams from the Connecticut Fusion, New England Mutiny, and Worcester Smiles will be joined by Massachusetts-based club Upper 90 Soccer Academy. Based in the North Shore of Boston, the Upper 90 Soccer Academy is designed to meet the needs of the club and school players in a team setting. Many Upper 90 players have gone on to play at the professional level, both domestically and abroad. I'm very excited to offer the North Shore community with a women's team, said the club director, Doc Simpson. We have a lot of talent here, and it is important for our staff to showcase them. Interesting. Hopefully they will come out and they'll do great things for the league and for their community. We here on the show are also excited to announce that along with their UWS side, Detroit City FC will also be fielding a UWS 2 side this coming year and will be joining the Great Lakes Conference. New teams to the conference will be announced at the turn of the new year, so stay tuned. We'll have a lot of new teams throughout the country, actually. So there are many teams looking for players this upcoming season and also holding tryouts. If you're interested, find a local team in your area and see if your UWS or UWS team is looking for players. This is a great opportunity to keep playing, even dust off those boots and get back in the game that we all love. So check out UWS online for information at uws.com/club tryouts. The Techni skill of the week this week. Thank you to our partner, Techni Football. Techni is an app to help players develop strong training habits on their own through repetition, tracking, and competition. Former U.S. national team and professional player Yael Averbush puts out a new training session every week with guest players and exciting new challenges regularly. Check it out on your App Store or Apple iTunes platform and get a free 7-day trial. So check out Techni Football on Twitter at Techni Football for skills of the day. And don't forget to participate in the UWS Skill Challenge. This month's challenge is how many juggles, alternating feet can you do in 1 minute? Both the player with the top score and one entry selected at random will win a prize pack. All you have to do is follow UWS Soccer and Techni on Twitter and Instagram, attempt the skill, post it, tag UWS and Techni while challenging 3 of your friends. Make sure to use hashtag UWS skills for your chance to win. This week, we have Zoe Chad from Quebec demonstrating the 1 minute challenge. Zoe says, ever since I started to do technical training or Techni regularly, I saw a big improvement on my touch and ball handling during games. I recently downloaded the Techni Football app and love that I'm able to track my progress. Well, Zoe, thank you. Your touch is amazing, good form, and we hope that you continue liking Techni training. So thank you so much for joining us this evening for UWS Weekly. You can follow all things UWS and UWS2 on our social media pages and send your questions for future shows as well. Due to the holidays happening the next 2 weeks, we'll be changing our dates to Tuesday, the 22nd and Tuesday, the 29th of December at 7:30 Eastern. But we'll be returning Thursdays on the 7th of January. So join us Tuesday, December 22nd, as we are joined by Gretna Elite Academy's Marcus Kelser to talk a little bit about what's going on in Omaha, Nebraska. So until Tuesday, have a great evening and great weekend, everyone. Until next time, cheers.